Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the podcast Franchise Your Success with the one and only Dan Olsen, Margie Roman here. How are you doing, Dan?
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Marjorie. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, that's for sure. And it's an honor to get to know such an amazing human being like you. I mean, you started into franchises. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, thank you so much. It's been my honor over the past 30 years to help literally thousands of people to find that right business. It might have been a small business, but also focusing more on franchising, help them find that right vehicle that fit them. And now those people are doing billions of dollars per year in sales, and they've created tens of thousands of jobs for the economy. And it's just the best paycheck ever to be able to see others succeed in whatever business direction they choose.
That's wonderful. And it's a pleasure for us to learn from you for sure. So tell us, where did you begin investing into franchises? Because out of all the vehicles, you chose franchises. So we want to know how.
Wow, it took me a little bit to get there because right after college, I ended up working with a large national bank. Ended up moving around to Colorado and Arizona, and I got to know a lot of people there and working my way up the corporate ladder. And I thought, this is the way to do it. But in the meantime, I always had deep inside of me that desire to have my own business, to have that freedom, to not be subject to those corporate rules and regulations and the less freedom that comes along with that. So I started looking at different business opportunities, and I started out looking at some things doing mail order, and so I would put little ads in, and that started out to do okay, but it wasn't sustaining. I wasn't able to really make it work the way I wanted to work. So then I started thinking, well, okay, I'll try some real estate. So I invested in a townhome, and I got that started up, and then being the landlord just wasn't quite for me, and so that. I kind of put that aside, even though I had a lot of interest in that. So then I looked into other things like, of course, direct marketing, but I just couldn't quite grasp the way to do that without the professionalism. And I looked into direct sales and started doing a little bit of that. And that started to do some things, but just never took off the way I expected it. In fact, I started to work it, and then the company went out of business. So I lost all my work that I'd done. And so I just kept thinking, okay, well, maybe, and I tried other little businesses and other things on the side and learned a lot, because I think, don't be afraid to fail. The more failures you have and you don't make that same mistake twice, it sets you up for more success down the road. And so I learned that early, but I didn't have a lot of the mentorship. I didn't have a lot of the support and really a proven system to follow yet. So I hadn't learned that in business. So when I moved to Arizona, I had the opportunity to meet someone who introduced me to the world of franchising. Happens to be my neighbor. Oh, wow. And he said, yeah, I know you want to get into your own business. Maybe you ought to look at franchising. What's our franchising all about? Sometimes we get a little bit of fearful of we're thinking, oh, these are these great big locations and we got to invest all this money, and it's kind of scary. And so that was some of my feelings in the beginning. Then when I got to know what franchising is all about, it changed my opinion completely. This is the way to go. And so I jumped into it, and for the past 30 years, it's been wonderful. I've invested in a lot of different franchises, and there's some amazing stories there, and I've helped a lot of people also invest in some great franchises and start some wonderful businesses. But because franchising gave me that mentor, it gave me the support, it gave me a system to follow, and usually there's a brand name there also that's well known. So it gave me that comfort, knowing I had someone behind my back to help support me and bring me there.
That's awesome. So tell us, what was your first franchise?
Well, I first started out with a little company called Money Mailer Direct Mail Advertising. Ooh. And they were their first company to franchise direct mail advertising. No one ever thought, can you franchise direct mail advertising? I mean, can't you just grab a few little ads, print them up, stuff them in an envelope, mail them out to the homes, and help the businesses succeed with that direct mail? But they did. They successfully franchised it, and then other companies kind of followed suit after that. And it was a wonderful little business. And of course, when the digital age came about, direct mail still worked, but they had to go more digital, which they transferred into this. So that was my first learning experience, and they taught me about what I call the best kept secret in business today, a little program called Master Franchising. And once I saw that and saw how that worked, I was hooked. That was my niche.
And so what is that? Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, it is kind of still of a secret, because as I was speaking to one of the audiences last weekend, there was about 500 people in the room, and I asked the question, how many of you have heard about master franchising? Out of the 500 people in that room, maybe 5 hands went up. Oh. So that tells me it's still kind of a secret out there. And I call it my best kept secret in business today, because the returns are phenomenal, and it gives you the opportunity to have multiple streams of income, and it just gives you a lot more flexibility. And I can go on and on about it, but I'm gonna jump into that a little bit, because I think it's important for everyone to understand what that best kept secret is. So I like to call it master franchising, but the correct term for it legally is area representation. So you become, as a master franchisee or an area rep, a partner with the franchisor. You're a partner right at the top with the franchise company itself. And so you have a lot of the same opportunities and same abilities and revenue shares that the company does. So you get to jump into those. So there's really about 4 major income streams for a master franchise. Number one is, since you're a representative of that franchise or in a particular area, you own this particular geographic territory. So it might be the state of Colorado, or it might be the city of Dallas-Fort Worth, or whatever territory that you agree to take over with the franchise, or that's your territory. It's kind of like real estate. No one else can come in and infringe on that because that's your property. And so one of the income streams, the first one we talk about, is selling the franchise. And a better term for that is awarding a franchise license. It's not really selling. It's more, you're going through an interview process with each candidate that comes to you, just like you would a job interview. But instead of you paying them a salary, they're paying you for the right to be part of your little entity, your little territory, little mini empire is what it really becomes. And so they're paying you for that right. So you want to make sure you interview them. They're going to interview you and make sure it's the right fit. And you'd go through this process, usually 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks to make sure it's the right thing. And then if it's the right thing, you get to award a franchise license to that individual. And they own a particular part of your area and have the rights to put in a store, or if it's non-brick and mortar, they're opening up an office or doing some things out of their home. So they are operating that location under the master franchise. But for every franchise fee, let's say, I'm just throw out a number, because the franchise fees can range from $40,000, $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 for a single unit franchise. So let's say it's ease of calculation, it's $40,000. Like I had a master franchise for Massage Envy many years ago. We built that up and were able to sell it off and have a nice exit out of that. And so the franchise fee back then was about $40,000. So every time we sold a franchise, we would get half of that, of $20,000. So we're splitting the franchise fee. So you can do the math. If you ended up selling 2 franchises, or 10 or 20 or 30 times that amount, you can see what it amounts to. I'm not giving any claims of any earnings here. I just want to give you an example of how it works. So it gives the master franchisee an opportunity to get their investment back fairly quickly, just as fast as you can award those franchises. And with digital marketing today, it's a lot easier to pinpoint those type of people in your area and bring the right candidates on board with you. So that's income source number 1. Income source number 2 is what we want to do with the residual piece of this, and that's sharing in the royalty typically. Okay. So I'll just give you an example. Let's say that there's a 6% royalty that the franchisor charges, and you're you're in a position where you've got an agreement with the franchisor where you're splitting that royalty. So in other words, you get 3%, franchisor gets 3% of the total sales of that franchise. And once again, depending on how much money that franchisee is doing in total sales, that 3%. So if it's $500,000, 3% of that. If it's $1 million, 3% of that. If it's $2 million, 3% of that comes in every single month, and month after month, year after year, you're getting that percentage. So it allows you to split in that. So it just depends on what the franchisee is doing. And with my Massage Envies, they were doing a very good, solid amount. So you take that 3%, and then you can multiply that by the number of franchises that you set up. So if you got one, you multiply it by one. The return can still be phenomenal. But what happens if you have 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 in a territory? The number can be staggering on that, just that residual income. So I also owned another master franchise I had with some partners for Fantastic Sam's hair salons. And that was awesome because I got some partners to kind of teach me how to do that. That was my first one I ended up acquiring with them. And not only did we get the royalty stream, but we got a little bit extra. And we got what's called wholesale distribution income. This is the third income stream for a master franchise. So the third income stream, we were sharing for all the shampoos and conditioners and other hair care products that were sold out of the front of that location. We got to share in that wholesale distribution income. In fact, after I sold my Fantastic Sam's master franchise with my partners, we held on to that distribution company, and I kept getting checks every year for residual that just kept coming in off the sales of shampoos and conditioners and other things that were sold even after we sold the master franchise. So that's income source number 3. The fourth way is to actually open up a location yourself. And I remember with my partner in one of the master franchises I had with Massage Envy, we ended up opening up a location in the city, but we hired a manager to run it for us. So I didn't have to be there on a day-to-day basis, and they were trained by the company. They got everything set up through them, and I would travel there maybe once every 6 months just to check everything's out. And only thing I really did other than receive the income from that one is to go in and get a massage once in a while. So it was a pure investment for me, and it was a great. In fact, I remember one time taking my son. He was younger, and I took him in to get his first massage, and he got to see how it operated, and that was a great memory that my son and I had to be able to travel on business together. And I've done that with all my children, actually. We've had a chance to travel and have a chance to work together in the business. It's just been a wonderful family opportunity for us with the master franchise programs. So that was income source number 4, is opening up your own location with a manager. So you're not there on a day-to-day basis, but you're also receiving your royalty off of that, and you're receiving the income off of that. So that was number 4. But there's a lot of other ways to generate income off of that. But one of the big things that we talk about is investing in real estate. So we have some of our franchisees will actually acquire the location, commercial real estate, and then lease it back to their franchisees. So that's another great way for them to generate income through real estate. And there's a lot of other ways to do that, but those are probably 4 or 5 of the main ways to generate income with a master franchise. So we talk about investing in real estate for growth, but we talk about investing in business for that cash flow. And we want that immediate cash flow as quickly as we can and build it up. But here's the other thing that happens is there is a tremendous exit strategy on a master franchise. So that's why I call it one of my best kept secrets, because as you build it and you have franchisees that actually open up their locations and you're receiving that residual income, those contracts are solid. So that allows the multiplier on the business when you want to exit to be even higher than a typical franchise or a typical business, rather than 2.5, maybe 3 times the cash flow, the EBITDA, when you want to exit out of it. we're seeing sometimes between 4 to 9 times. So if you take that cash flow, multiply it by 5, 6, 7, 8, after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of operating that master franchise, you've got a pretty nice exit down the road there. And we've done that many, many times with lots of the individuals that we've worked with, and we've helped them resell their territories. I've sold mine as well. And it's just been a really good opportunity to not only build cash flow, but build that growth, that capital gains that allows us to have a true investment that we can turn around and sell down the road. So I don't know, that's my explanation, brief explanation about master franchise. I can talk a little bit about what you do as a master franchisee as well, but that's a whole nother story.
That's amazing, Dan. And so you mentioned that you have sold a few of your territories, but have you kept any other ones? Are you working on any new franchises as of now?
Yeah, I ended up thinking that I would kind of semi-retire and not do a whole lot more. So I sold off my territories when I was in Arizona, and then I moved back or up here to Utah, where I reside now. And it's been wonderful to come up and get out of the heat a little bit, but it's nice to go back to Arizona during the wintertime and hang out with friends and family there. So I kind of sold everything off and moved here. And since I've moved back, a lot of my old friends and associates have come back and said, "Hey, Dan, let's do this." Or, "Hey, Dan, what about this one?" So once it gets into your blood, the master franchising into your blood, I guess it's always there because I'm back. And so now I'm acquiring more master franchises. I'm in the process of building up a location here in Utah and acquiring 2 more master franchises for a particular brand and a third one for a food type brand, which I really, really like. Cool. And so I don't think I'll ever stop. But, as I mentioned earlier, it's just an ideal business for family because, like I said, all of my children have worked with me and they've been educated a little bit about how this works, and it helps them in their careers. And some of them are still working with me, of course. But it's just been a wonderful thing for a family to have that income, but also just the learning process that they've gone through with the master franchise at the highest levels.
That's for sure. And I can tell that you're definitely a family guy. And it's amazing how it really teaches your kids so many different virtues and traits that they should have. And I bet that was such a wonderful experience for them. So thank you so much for that, Dan. And so tell me, what's the best part that you have enjoyed out of having your kids working with you?
Well, the biggest thing is we've got to take a lot of wonderful trips together. Ooh. And so every time one of them and I have 5 children, and they're wonderful children. I love them dearly and love to spend time with them. They have their own families now and are working hard on that. So it's nice to go in and see their situations on what they've gone through. But I'm hoping that some of the good things, like you talked about, the characteristic traits have rubbed off on some of them, because they always talk to me about some of the things they've learned. And some of the bigger things I think are gratitude. And I believe, I hear my kids say this all the time, that they're grateful and they're thankful, and it's for a lot of the things that they've learned. And so the gratitude, I think, has been huge. The other thing is just helping others, and that's what franchising is all about, especially in the master franchising. You're helping others to succeed, and so you're serving others and you're helping others, and you're seeing their success. And it's just wonderful to see that success of other people that you're working so hard to help them succeed. And that's another power of the master franchise. So my family has seen that, but we've also taken some pretty amazing vacations together. And every time one of them turned, they're senior, they got to pick where they wanted to go on their senior trip. And we'd take as many of the family that wanted to go with them. And of course, obviously the Hawaii and surfing and things like that, and Costa Rica, and I even had one son that wanted to go to Guatemala. So we went to Guatemala. And so we've been around to some pretty amazing places with them, and I've got to spend some time with them because of what master franchising has done for our family.
That's amazing, Dan. And I feel like that brings us into our next question, which is, what's the most important lesson that you learned when you were doing franchises?
Wow, that is a good one because, I struggled to figure out my own business, and I'd seen a show on TV where they were interviewing a bunch of different millionaires, and they would ask them, okay, you started your business, you've grown it. How long did it take you to succeed? And the average for all those millionaires is they had started and failed in 18 different businesses. So, I started thinking, well, there's got to be a shortcut. There's got to be a better way to do that. And that's when franchising was introduced to me. And for me, it's been a shortcut because you can reverse that and you can use the mistakes that the franchisor has already made, and you don't have to make those same mistakes. So I was able to jump in and have some immediate success and follow the system. So the one big secret for me that helped me is to be able to see someone had already done it before. They had modeled the success pattern, and I was able to jump in and just follow it. And sure, it's hard work. It's great work, but there is a system to follow with successful franchises.
Oh, that's awesome. And for anyone who's looking into starting into a franchise, what's the best advice that you could give them?
Yeah, that's a big one. So first of all, there's over 4,000 franchises just in the United States. And in other countries, they have thousands of different opportunities and options as well. So how do you sort through all of that? Well, you can do a lot of research yourself on the internet, but one of the things you want to look at is why not do something that you enjoy? Find that pattern that's successful with something that you would like to do that's fun for you, so that it becomes less work and more of a passion. And you're going, when you go to work and when you're investing or even managing that franchise, usually it's managing the manager so that you can use it as an investment, not a job. Although there's some people that enjoy it so much that they want to have it as their daily work that they go to. So it just depends on you what you're looking for. But I would say find the franchise where you have some passion and maybe even a little background in. So if you grew up, working for McDonald's, like millions of people have, and maybe you kind of like that and you've got that experience and you like serving people. Maybe there's a certain little type of food franchise, which makes up a huge majority of the franchises that are out there. Or maybe, and another huge industry is personal services or even medical. The medical industry is trillions of dollars throughout the world, alternative medicine and things like that. Maybe it's something that you enjoy working with in the medical industry. And so there's something there. Maybe it's a spa, or maybe, but then there's, on the other hand, there's a lot of people that wake up in the morning and say, I'd like to get in my own business. I'd like to start something, but I don't know what I want to start. So most people don't think about the business that they want to get into. It needs to be introduced to them. So one of the ways that we've worked with over the years is having that mentor, once again, a franchise consultant or a franchise coach, someone that can kind of bring out the best in you and match you with a really good franchise that they're familiar with. So sometimes it's best go directly to a franchise coach and help you find the right franchise for you.
And we're so glad to have you as our coach, Dan, for franchising as well. So thank you so much again for sharing all of those experiences with us. And well, stay tuned, everyone, because we're going to be talking on our next episode about how to find out if franchising is for us. Thank you so much, Dan.